This is like nothing to do with the podcast, but I found out that the other day, whenever you buy a movie or a lot of digital content through either the example I was given was Amazon Prime, but I'm sure this applies to Google as well, the Google digital services as well. You don't actually own that movie. So let's say I buy something on Amazon Prime. You don't own that. If Amazon takes it down for whatever reason they have to take it down, that's it. You can't get it back, and you're not going to get a refund. It's in the Amazon terms
That's
and
insane.
conditions.
That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in Steam, when they delist a game, I can still download the game if I have the code for it.
Really?
In Steam, yeah. I got an Avatar game, the Legend of Korra game made by Platinum. You can't buy it anymore. I just bought the Steam code off of Amazon, and I can still download it. It's been delisted. You can't buy it anywhere, but you can still activate the Steam code. And unless like the whole of Steam goes down, I get to keep that with me. That's a way more preferable system than whatever the hell Amazon's doing. That sounds insane. That's a stupid system. Welcome to the second season of the Quarantine Quality Podcast with your hosts Stan and
Adam.
Yay. Anyway, What we were here to talk about was we originally stopped this podcast because there wasn't really a lot to talk about because the lockdown looked like it was easing up. We had the tier system, and I think on a spiritual level you just can't mock the tier system as much as the lockdown. The lockdown is a sort of unifying pain that everyone in the country can feel, whereas the tier system sort of divides the pain out into more areas than others. But now we've got the lockdown back. Me and Adam, being introvert sociopaths, have got back into the groove. So we're starting up the second season of Quarantine Quality Podcast, which we restarted, and we're not doing COVID Copecast because that didn't really go too well for whatever reason.
No, yeah, that kind of got abandoned. I think it's because of the tier system.
Yeah, the tier system isn't really, like I said, a unifying pain. Like, when you're talking about the tier system, it's like, it's not really much to talk about. It's the same as lockdown. But when you have lockdown 2, you go, oh, we got a second lockdown. And then we had that 0.5 lockdown, you know, that 1.5. There wasn't really a lockdown like the other one, but it was, you know.
Was it in October? Are you talking about the October one?
The October one. It wasn't even really a full lockdown. It didn't last as long. So we couldn't really do a podcast on that.
Yeah, that was weird.
That was a weird one.
Yeah, it didn't seem like much changed.
It didn't really seem all that different from the tier system that everyone. Oh no, the tier system came after that, and then it was the same thing. It was the same as a lockdown, but just not as bad in Cornwall because no one in Cornwall actually lives or looks at each other. They just like they have all their houses like 10 miles away from each other in Cornwall, so they don't have to worry about that. But then we got the lockdown again, and it was all fun. All great. So this has been truly
great,
marvelous experience.
Started 3 days ago, and it's not been bad at all. It's actually been rather marvelous.
Mildless?
Marvelous.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, what does mildless mean? Oh, no. Okay. I am actually suffering every day. I just want this to die. I want COVID to just be over with more than anything. But
yeah. But you know what, Stan? It's okay, because there's only 1 year left. So...
Oh, that felt awful. That hit me like nothing else. Why did you have to say that?
Well, it's truth, isn't it? I mean, people are going to get vaccinated.
We're
going to be last.
That's so depressing. You can't say, don't worry, Stanley. 2020 was the worst year imaginable. But don't worry, we've only got another year of it left.
I mean... Yeah, I mean you're halfway. It's 50% of the way, isn't it? Like it's like running a marathon and someone tells you you're halfway there. It's not, it could be encouraging.
Soul crushing. I felt like I already ran like 7 marathons, and I've got enough. I'm not even halfway there. I'm just barely half.
Well, I mean, it depends on how good the marathon marshals would say.
Man, I was at full energy when I was running that first half the marathon. I'm exhausted now, and you're telling me I'm not even halfway there?
Yeah. Boy, okay, maybe not a marathon. Let's think about this as the Iron Man. Is that what it's called?
What's the Iron Man?
What's like this extreme competition? It's an extreme competition. That's what. Yeah, let's go with that.
Well, it's too extreme for me. I want off this ride.
I'm afraid you've already signed a contract.
Stuck. Oh no.
Duck. Can't go to Europe either. Sorry.
Well, we
Not
can't
just doing
go.
much better.
We can't go around Europe until I get that Irish passport that I'm owned, because not my father, but his father was Irish, and that for some reason makes me Irish too. Thankfully, instead we've got I know why that system was put in there. Don't take the mick out of me and say that's stupid. Well, you know what, Adam? We can't go out and drink or have fun or particularly do really anything of any interest at the moment. But you know what we can do? We can laugh at people. We can laugh at people who say stupid things on the internet.
So day-to-day lives, let's be honest.
Yeah, that's pretty much what anyone does. That's pretty much what everyone our age group does. We're just kind of like a group of sociopaths who just hang out on the internet all the time, just screaming at each other.
Exactly, but today we're going to talk about different kind of sociopaths.
Ooh.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, actually. I don't want to be sued for libel.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure that crazy person who responded to our Facebook comment is like, I can't believe you called me a sociopath. I'm gonna sue you for libel. Stoked curiosity now. I'm sure she'll find our address and everything. I'm sure that's a reasonable concern.
You don't know, man. It's the internet.
We're talking about
yeah.
anti-vaxxers, anti-maskers, people who just don't seem to think the coronavirus is real for whatever reason. I would have thought there had been enough proof at this point, but no, there's still some going strong with that. You see, we've made it a bit of an effort of our channel to dispel the lies that they have said about the coronavirus. And, you know, we've met some characters. And how we met those characters is them harassing us on Facebook because we posted a video with two scientists who worked for the WHO telling people what to do and them going, well, I don't trust them. So that's kind of where we're at the moment.
Yes.
You know,
much it.
Finding the effort to get two people who wrote papers for the HWO and get them on the podcast. We were very chuffed with that. And our main response is idiots on the internet telling us COVID isn't real. So that's where our stakes on this matter lie.
Do you want to say WHO? You say HWO.
Oh, World Health Organization, WHO.
Yeah, you said HWO.
Did I say HWO?
I think so.
I'm going crazy. Let's just get on with this next segment. We found idiots. Yeah. They replied to us on our Facebook. Okay, let's not call idiots.
You mean top minds of Facebook?
Sorry?
Top minds of Facebook.
Okay, not idiots. We found wine mums on Facebook that critiqued us.
Wine mum.
Here we go. The anti-masker comments.
Yeah, let me ask you, Stan. Okay, right? Mm-hmm. So, are masks worn in Malawi? Right, as far as I know, they've only had 184 COVID deaths in a population of over 18 million. This is now up to 203, I believe. This comment is a bit old. Folk, once they start looking at Malawi, South Korea, Finland, what they are doing, because they have very few COVID deaths. I reckon COVID deaths in Scotland are mainly due to insufficient Vit D levels in the Scottish population. What do you have to say about that?
Well, first off, I have to say that 184 has only been... Are you saying it's only 203?
It's now 203 because it's this comment is a bit old, yes.
That's what I mean. And all I have to say to that is, Adam, is... Wow, good on you, Malawi. You really have those numbers very low. That's very well done.
Why do you sound sarcastic?
That's not sarcastic. That's like... That's the shock at looking at the UK death toll and then looking at Malawi's.
It's jealousy.
That's not jealousy. I'm not like, I wish those Malawi people had. No, that's not jealousy. Good on Malawi. I'm actually shocked that there are countries that can keep the number that low. So, good for them. But
that's genuine.
To be truthful, we're a bit confused by this one, aren't we, Adam? Because none of the examples actually help her case study. Right? It's true that Finland has a low mask usage rate, but the country didn't need those as it's contained its outbreak quickly and effectively, right? So they contained it very fast, so they didn't necessarily need the masks. I mean, if there's no coronavirus spreading around, then no one in the population really needs to wear the masks. South Korea is a very odd example because in East Asian culture it has been established mask usage was established long before it was anywhere in the West. That's a huge thing in East Asian cultures. I don't know. Just check, Adam. That's fair. That's a safe thing to say, right?
Safe thing to say.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
not. Yeah, okay. That's not a generalization.
No, I'd say it's fine. Okay, South Korea and Japan for sure.
Yeah,
I
and
know
China.
that China, I imagine too, judging by footage I've seen. But South Korea and Japan for sure. I mean,
South Korea, Japan
we
for
did our
sure.
research on this, Dan, didn't we? I mean, even if that wasn't a thing, even if that wasn't true, the statistics on South Koreans wearing face masks outside is that over 80% of its citizens do. So, trying to push a point that face masks don't work and citing a country where not only has a culture of wearing face masks just in case someone has a cold, but also has over 80% of people using face masks. It's just not a good example, is it?
Well, it's a bit of an odd example, right? Because the stereotype for countries like South Korea and Japan has been like they wear face masks has been going on forever. I mean, you only need to look at like maybe this seems a bit of a generalization, but I don't think this is too bad. If you look at any BBC footage of like news stories that are taking place in Japan or South Korea, and they have those establishing shots with people walking down the street sped up, that the BBC, they love using those ones.
Yeah.
There you can see face masks being used all the time. I mean, this isn't like an unknown thing. People know that this is like a generally polite thing to do in Asian cultures. East Asian cultures, I apologise. So I don't know why this woman. And then here's the odd thing, right? I was like, well, okay, but what about Malawi? Well, here's the thing. To quickly check, how many people wear face masks in Malawi? Well, according to the healthdata.org, it's 95% of people in Malawi. That's more than South Korea. That's an insane amount.
Yeah.
Is it really 95?
Well, that's the research we did, so I'm hoping it's true.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. I have to just double check that because that's insane. No, I just like 95% of people wearing a mask, because that statistically that might have been one of the worst examples she could have picked.
Single one of the examples she picked seems to work against her. Except maybe Finland, which did have a low mask usage rate. I think we do have to give it that. But it's like you pointed out, it went into an early lockdown. It lowered the transmission rate. So why does it need to make its citizens wear a face mask when there's no need?
Yeah,
There's no reason. That makes no sense. That's it's cherry picking a piece of data that I'm not fully sure if she knows, because she cited South Korea and Malawi afterwards.
Yeah,
so.
I here's the thing. Well, Malawi, you know what? Malawi was her go-to example, and it's an even worse example than South Korea. That's why I was sort of searching around Facebook and conspiracy groups like that to see if Malawi popped up anywhere, and I haven't seen it pop up. But I wonder, is that like one of these examples that people keep referring to? Like you don't just mention Malawi randomly. That's not the name of a country that a wine mum goes to for a specific example. I doubt she even knew it existed before one of her Facebook group friends talked to her about it. So, like, seems a bit suspicious to me that Malawi's being mentioned. You know what? I think that she picked Malawi because it has such a low death rate, which it does. It has an amazingly low death rate. And I think
it has an amazingly.
Yeah.
But why wouldn't she just look? I mean,
because she just presumed. Oh, look, they've got low deaths. I bet they're not wearing masks. That's all that went through her thought process.
That has to be it. That makes a lot of sense. She must have been in some kind of Facebook group that tells her masks cause for you to retain carbon dioxide and so on, and that the faking COVID deaths, you die of a car accident and then they mark it as a COVID death, right? And then she'll look at Malawi, has a low death rate, and then she assumed that Malawi doesn't use masks, I suppose. I don't know.
That has to be it.
It's still
right?
weird. It's still like so. It looks so bad. It's like one of the worst examples she could possibly use. I mean,
the worst.
Like a second of research would tell you that that's wrong, because even though it is a bit hard to get statistics, right? We had to uh, research the just to verify our source healthdata.org. um whenever you type in Malawi COVID response, one of the first things that come up is a UN link, I believe, or UNICEF link that has a government video attached to that page as an example of the response that Malawi had. That video was produced right at the beginning of the pandemic. I think it was even before the UK either went into lockdown or took the virus seriously. And in that video itself, they urge people to stay separate as whenever possible and wear a face mask.
Well, this is, I think,
Specifically asks it.
this is why I said I looked around Facebook, or I looked around like factcheck.org to see if there was anything about Malawi that was popping up, because I was like, it doesn't. I just find the thought process interesting. I'm trying to
Yeah,
work out why Malawi was the example she brought up. It's a very
yeah,
weird example to bring up.
very weird.
And the only conclusion I can come to is there's low deaths. It must be that they weren't wearing masks.
Yeah,
Oh well. What can you do?
can I possibly do?
Well, we can
Well,
move on
thank
to
you.
the next example.
Go on.
A certain person with a certain name, who I will not say, said, "Let me get this right. In March, everyone and their mothers from the UK and USA said masks do very little to prevent the spread of the virus. Also, there is information on boxes of masks saying no good for coronavirus. Now all of a sudden, they've changed it. Unbelievable." Well, Adam, what's your response to that? Justify that, hey?
Okay, so again, like before, we did also look into this just to make sure we have this information correct. This claim has been spreading online and has been fact checked already by PolitiFact. If you don't know who or what PolitiFact is a non-profit organization which is based in the USA. Now, the quote he is referring to when he says that on the side of the box, masks are no, it says that masks are no good for coronavirus. The full quote is, "This product is an ear loop mask. This product is not a respirator and will not provide any protections against COVID-19, coronavirus in parentheses, and other viruses or contaminants." The claim itself, to be fair to him, isn't completely inaccurate, but it is very misleading. The text doesn't say the masks are ineffective at stopping the spread of the virus. I mean, if we had an N95 mask, that would be a lot more effective in terms of protection. But there's already been multiple studies that show masks are effective for what scientists call source control. And this is not talking about controlling your mind like they may suggest. They don't put a chip in the mask. What that means is that they are effective at reducing the spread of the coronavirus,
And I also
right?
want to spread,
Mm-hmm.
as we've been told by doctors before, do not wear the N95 mask. It protects you, but it spreads the coronavirus out more. It
Mm,
makes it very lethal for anyone just crossing your path.
that's the mask with the valve, isn't it?
Yes,
And
the
I don't think
N95 respirator.
N95 have valves. I think that's a different one, isn't it?
No, the
Or am I
N95
getting
respirator.
confused?
No, that's the same mask.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah, the valves will actually sort of push. It'll it'll filter the air you're breathing out, but it pushes it out. And it makes it a danger for anyone walking past you if you have corona. So
Yeah,
don't wear those.
yeah.
Just
It protect. Oh, yeah, okay, I see. Yeah, so it protects you because the air doesn't go in because it has to go through the filter. But when the air goes out, if you have the virus already, it's useless.
in a
And
per
then you don't this thing source control doesn't happen because you're spreading the virus through your filter.
Yep, in a perfect world, everyone would have N95s, but we don't live in a perfect world.
No,
And by perfect
I
world, I
think I
mean one
read.
with infinite resources. I don't know if you could actually even give everyone an N95.
Yeah,
Probably not.
I think I remember reading this study by Japanese researchers that they were looking at the effects of like face masks, like normal cloth face masks, right? Just in addition to source control. So just to get things straight, the masks are useful if you have, or if the person wearing the mask has coronavirus, because it stops it. It keeps it in the mask largely, right?
Mm.
It doesn't protect you. Now, the research I read, it says that you do have a level of protection. So you could, I think, if both the person with a face mask, sorry, without a face mask has coronavirus, and you go through a COVID cloud, you're wearing a face mask, you have about, I think, 60% protection, right? So there's a 40% chance that you catch the coronavirus. That's what they found. But it's important to underline that, it's not for your own protection. This is not an N95 mask. This is to stop spreading it if you have it.
Well, there we go. The best way to protect to protect ourselves is to protect everyone.
Exactly.
There's something poetic in that.
Something poetic. And just going back to the comment made by the unnamed man, the it's a weird comment because it almost implies that new data shouldn't support opposing or lack of knowledge. So it says, okay, well, we've had so and so studies that said that it couldn't find enough data to support a claim. We should no longer look into this. It's done.
No, science is static. It never changes.
So yeah, science is static. It never changes. This is it.
This is it. Once we found out the Earth was flat, we never changed it from there. We just kept
exactly.
On going.
As a matter of fact, Stan, I don't know why we keep saying that the sun goes around the Earth. We know, and if you look at the sun, it goes around the Earth.
Yeah,
we know the Earth is the center of the universe.
Listen, right? If you look directly at the sun, right? Just look directly into it. You'll notice one of two things, right? You'll notice that either it circles around us, or two, your eyes without sight will just disappear, and that's because the lizard people don't want you to know that we're the center. It's like it's a special instrument they've created to blind us whenever we try and find the truth.
Exactly. Also, right, though I would suggest looking at the sun, not the moon, because as we know, bats fly at night, and bats are we do have 5G bats going around now that 5G towers have been put up. So you don't want to get COVID that way. So don't look at the moon either.
I don't get the bat one to this day. The bat spread COVID-19 one was so confusing to me even.
That was great.
And we don't mean eating bats. We mean that the signal that the bats produce is similar to 5G towers and it spreads COVID. That was a real conspiracy theory we covered.
Yeah. I think it's our second or third episode. Quarantine Quality Podcast Season 1. Go watch it now.
Go watch it now. We'll probably have to label all the episodes Season 1 now.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's going to be a hassle. Alright. We got some of the best posters. So I work at an unspecified location that the public go to buy goods. And I'm being really...
Probably not a supermarket.
Yeah, I was being very secretive with that one. No one would ever guess what I work at. But
it could have been a convenience store.
Well, yeah, you just doxed me, Adam. Thanks, man. Thanks for doxing me.
Do you know the convenience store in so and so place? Yeah, that's where he works.
But we've had people put little posters out, and I've just seen them walk into work, like right on the supermarket. No one, and we've got some fun ones here. It's from a group called the White Rose, and we'll get to that name in a bit because that is a very interesting name to call your conspiracy group. But oh, look at this poster. We've got a little person dressed up in a gas mask, and they're doing their shopping up, Adam. And it's like, oh, a conspiracy theorist. Oh, look how crazy this person is. They're dressing up in a gas mask to go shopping because they're afraid of Corona, which clearly does not exist. Oh, this is... Oh, we got someone saying vaccinate this, pointing their middle finger up.
Oh, of course, of course.
If I was a normal person and I saw someone put up a sticker with vaccinate this and they had their little middle finger up, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I guess I don't agree with vaccinations. I never thought about it like that before, They probably are. They probably actually, this isn't a joke, they probably actually think you get vaccinated from the finger. The middle finger.
Yes, sure.
Oh, this is a Bill Gates one. Do you really think that the person who believes the world is overly populated wants to save your life? I know, Adam. Do you think?
Of course, there's a Bill Gates conspiracy.
Dude, Bill Gates is the first person you go to.
Too easy. I'm sorry.
Easy.
You bring up Bill Gates and your conspiracy theory. I mean, that's it. I'm done.
Give us some.
If you
fresh
didn't bring
ones.
it up, I may consider it. I may consider the fact that vaccines cause autism, but you brought up Bill Gates. I'm sorry, I can't.
It's so boring. At least find someone interesting. It's
Yeah.
always, it's always Bill Gates.
It is.
Just find someone more interesting. Okay, staying human is more important than living in fear. Hands, face, embrace.
That's great actually. It works at so many levels.
What levels? All it does is
Hands,
infuriate me as I walk by it at work. That's all it does.
hands, stand, shake hands, touch someone's face,
Yeah.
and then embrace whatever the consequences are.
Yeah. Well, when you put it like that, yeah, they're actually advertising against, they're advertising for wearing a mask.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow. Maybe they're just more intelligent about it than I thought. Well, you learn something. And look at this. This is my favourite one. It's the picture of a girl smashing a television screen. She's holding it up smiling. And it says, and just like that, little Susie cured the worst virus of all time.
It's always
I'm
the
sure.
media.
I'm sure all of those people would be absolutely fine with their little daughter smashing their television screens up.
Absolutely.
That would be something they'd love. I'm sure. I get the metaphor, but every time I look at that, I don't think about like coronavirus. I just think, God, I'd be furious if my small child broke my television screen.
Just imagine you buy yourself, like you treat yourself, right? You've been saving up mortgage. You usually pay mortgage, bills, whatever. You don't treat yourself, and then you just go to, I don't know, PC carries, and you're like, oh, this TV is discounted by £500. Like, oh, you know what? Why not? And then your conspiracy theorist daughter goes, no! Just charges with a hammer.
Oh my God,
destroys
why
it.
did you break our television? Media is the real virus. I'm disowning you.
Womp womp.
I would disown the child there. I wish Bill Gates would give you corona. Because not only that, if my child like turned to me and said, "Media is the real virus," I've raised an unimaginably smug child, and I don't know if I'm happy. That I need to like sort of remove any sort of proof that this child was ever mine to begin with. I can't have that.
Oh, that's hilarious. But I can't believe these people don't realize the irony in this, right? Like, media is the real violence, but where did you hear this from? Isn't this some sort of medium?
Yeah, social media, exactly. Everything they get is from social media. But like the difference is that actually it's different because I didn't get my information from the BBC. I got my information from some crackhead online. So it's completely different. It's still media, and it's really interesting that you say that, Adam, because Facebook, and this has been a massive problem that people point out on social media, actually benefits from having conspiracy theories and stuff like that populate throughout its pages. The more clicks that gets, the more it engages people. That's been a massive problem with it, and it's not now because they have cracked down on any coronavirus conspiracy theories. Like, they've really cracked down on them. Well, really cracked down on them. Actually, that's not true. There's a report that came out recently. I don't have the report on me, so I will link it in the description. But it says Facebook curtailing those people hasn't really seemed to have done a lot to actually stop the spreading of conspiracy theories. It's almost as if there's a deeper problem. As if the algorithm itself has been designed in a way that it helps these people get the crazy things that they need to hear out.
It's almost if you cut the source of the crazy just doesn't go away.
It's almost as if there's something, the problem is in its DNA, that no amount of just saying you'll do action to it and getting like some mod worker who has to getting some mod who has to spend like 12 hours of his life every day staring at conspiracy weirdos.
And after a decade develops PTSD.
Yeah.
That's not even a joke.
That's not even a joke. That's the depressing reality. These people think that they're like rebelling against the media, but all they're doing is like barely pushing through someone's wage to eat as they develop PTSD and stare at the internet. Oh God, that's a horrific job.
That's terrible. Yeah, that sounds horrifying.
But at the same time, I could use a new job change, and they are employing people at the moment.
You know what? I think I know what the best source of news could be.
Man, that's the only difference. The only difference is you're ruining some poor person's life every time you post cringe. Oh my god, another twat has just posted Bill Gates. It's another Bill Gates. I have to see this man's face on a regular basis. Please, start a conspiracy theory about Elon Musk or someone, but not Bill Gates. I've had enough.
Change it, please.
Every day I look at my computer screen and all I see is more Bill Gates.
He comes in my dreams. I can't escape. Yeah. So, Stan, okay, we may have sidetracked a bit. I got too carried away.
Anyway, those poor people. Anyway, the funny thing is their name. Actually, it's not funny. It's actually rather disturbing and disgusting. So, Adam? What is their name? Can you tell me?
White Rose, was it?
The White Rose. Now, I don't know if there's any history buffs listening, but the White Rose may sound familiar to some of you. I don't know, Adam. Where have you heard White Rose before? Do you know?
No, to be honest, no.
Oh wow. Well done for doing the research, Adam. In World War II, there was a group called the White Rose. They existed during Nazi Germany's occupation. They delivered posters out saying, trying to discourage people from being Nazis, criticizing the Nazi ideology, and unfortunately, most of them were caught and killed. I would argue that this was a definitely extremely brave action to do, especially during the occupation of Nazi Germany. Now, when you go on the White Roses, the conspiracy groups, not the actual heroic White Roses, when you go on the conspiracy group page, they say, yeah, we named ourselves after the White Roses. What we do, posting our Bill Gates memes on a pole so that people walking through more like Waitrose can see them, is exactly the same as putting posters up during Nazi-occupied Germany. During Nazi Germany. That's the same thing. That's the same level of braveness.
Exactly the same.
I think that's been, when we get to the apathy thing, I think that's been the thing that's been causing me the most grief. Because I know these people, you already think, if these people think that because they say on the website, yeah, we are the same as the White Rose group, we're inspired by them and we're continuing their legacy, right? Like a bunch of people that every 2 hours on a Saturday just put stickers out that they printed from their computer and then just go home and do the exact same thing they were doing as before. How do you, and then they say to themselves, oh, I'm the same as the White Rose. Yeah. How do you get through to people like that?
You can't.
But that's what I mean. Is it a lost cause, or should we just give up? That's what I'm saying.
I don't know. Morally, I can't say we should give up, because then it's like they live in a world of complete isolation from reality, and that's not good. It's not going to be good for them. It's not going to be good for us either.
I spent 2 hours of people sending snuff videos to other people, and it's put me in depression. But nothing hits me harder than people comparing themselves to the White Rose. That's insane. That's the kind of information that sends these people crazy, these Facebook monitors.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? How do you deal with knowing the fact that there are people out there that just put like 6 cringy posters on a pole, and they think they're the same as the White Rose? It feels offensive that I even called them the White Rose. I needed to say that because I needed to give context as to who this group was, but I feel like even calling them the White Rose seems ridiculous. I don't know. How do you in your mind think you're the same as that? I don't get it. I don't get it.
No, well, because they live in a world where, lockdowns are evil, and someone on Facebook told them Bill Gates created the coronavirus.
And it's Bill Gates and his bats, sending them to everyone. I don't know. That's what makes me lose it. And when we get to the apathy bit, I think that maybe this is a good segue even to the apathy bit, because
yeah,
how Adam, what did you want to talk about?
Yeah, so, well, like you said, this is a good segue into something I wanted to talk about now. It's something called compassion fatigue, or it's, as you say, so apathy in a way. Well, so what are you feeling now? Something is what I wanted to talk about. So compassion fatigue is usually looked from a different perspective, right? It's hard to to define it because it is a concept, but there can be many different meanings. I just want to make clear as well. This is not like a disease. It's almost like a symptom sometimes, right?
Mm.
Usually, what it used to be, compassion fatigue used to be this condition usually suffered by healthcare professionals. Essentially, what happened is that they saw so many bad things and they've seen so many secondhand trauma that they then don't feel sympathy for other people in similar situations or like in different situations. They can no longer feel sympathy in a way, right? It diminishes or completely blocks this empathic angle of the brain,
Mm.
right?
It's a similar thing, I think, to police also face this a lot.
Yeah, I imagine so. So, I mean, now compassion fatigue is no longer part of of healthcare professionals. Police, like you said, suffer it a lot, but because of the technological world that we live in now, things have changed, right? I read this in Psychology Today. A doctor's name is Amit. What he says is that we are so inundated with so much content and graphic images and tragedies and suffering that this is now anyone could suffer from compassion fatigue, right?
Mm.
Um, what the thing is, I've gone online to try and do a little more research on the topic, and it's usually seen from the perspective of the people like the white roses, right? The people who don't believe in coronavirus, the people who go, like in America, right? For instance, was it 130,000 people have died, or is it 300,000 already? So 100,000 or 300,000?
I think it's
It's a
closer.
high number. It's an extremely high
It's
number,
an
but
extremely worrying number.
it's an extremely worrying number. But apparently, in America, 600,000 people die a year of cancer. And what a lot of people like to say
It's
is that cancer is still more of a problem than COVID is in terms of the death count, right?
mm.
Almost as if as if cancer completely nullifies COVID. Like, COVID's no longer an issue.
Oh my god.
Exactly. So
Yeah, no,
these people
it's
have compassion fatigue. They don't seem to grasp the idea that 300,000 or 100,000 people dying from this, that the solution is face mask almost and just staying apart from people, is they can't relate. They can't sympathize with people who have lost, um, family members or friends. But I also want to look from our perspective, for instance. We follow the rules largely, I imagine. We wear face masks, we keep apart whenever we can. I imagine you do too.
I try.
um, and we believe in the science, right? So, but now we see people like the White Rose, for instance, do all of this nonsense, and then like the question you told me, like, why should we care? Almost, right?
Mm.
How do we get through to these people? I mean, actually, a very good example is recently a professor said that people who don't follow the rules to prevent COVID transmission have blood on their hands. Do you remember reading that story?
I don't remember reading that story, but that's
No, well, yeah, it was an ICU doctor or professor that is just he's tired of the situation, and rightly so. You have conspiracy theories, you have people like the White Rose spreading nonsense around, and then you have the stupid people that blame Bill Gates about things like this, right? So he's done, he's tired. So do we suffer from compassion fatigue as well? I wonder.
well, I mean, this is why I want to be careful with this segment. I feel like you need to be extremely careful in comparing like what social workers and medical workers have had to go through and saying that us reading Facebook comments is an amalgamation of that or similar to that.
100%,
You got to be careful. I don't know if I'm quite
definitely.
at that level. I mean, I.
No,
But I do think I do wonder. This has been a question in my mind. Can the level of stuff that we see on the internet cause apathy? If you see enough violent material over and over again, does it just eventually do you become numb to it? I've always found that an intriguing question.
so I mean, judging by what I mentioned earlier, this doctor named Dr. Amit, right? So that's what he's arguing. He's arguing that we see so much stuff that it's making us apathetic.
Mm,
And it's not quite compassion fatigue because it's not the same as this ICU doctor. It's not the same as healthcare professionals. But they are people arguing that we've got to a point where it's hard for us to be empathetic to people
mm.
sometimes.
Well,
Um,
I
yeah.
think this is the example that I would probably use. So I wonder if it's more. it's dehumanization, but not in the way that you're thinking. I don't think these people
Mm.
have looked at what's going on, and I mean, I do think it's true to a degree, especially, and I think a big problem with the UK is that when you saw people like top officials of government, when you saw Cummings just ignore safety regulations, and then you
Mm.
hear stories about like every week there was a new person coming out who had not followed these regulations. Like, why
Yeah.
should I follow it? Clearly, if the people who are in charge, the people, if they don't even take their own rules seriously, what's the point? And I do think that has a massive thing to do with it. But I think a lot of the time when you look at these conspiracy groups, right, I think they honest to God think a lot of those people who don't believe the same stuff as they are
Mm.
are stupid morons, idiots. That's what I think. I think if you look, this is a bit of an extreme example, but I think it is very similar to sort of reactionary thinking. When you look at like South American nations or Southeast Asian nations, the way in which people were able to tell themselves that they could do some of the stuff they did during revolutions. So let's take a
Mm.
look at Indonesia. Like I said, very different example. It's nowhere near that bad. But like the reason people could do what they did in Indonesia in 1965 was because
Mm.
they were telling themselves, these people don't know what they're doing. They're morons. We're better. We're smarter. Well, I mean, they were saying straight up the people that we were against are inhuman. I don't think it's that bad, but I think it's the same. It's the same style of thinking. You know what I mean? I think a
Yeah.
lot of these COVID guys probably think these people are stupid. They don't see what we see. I spent all my time on Facebook, my 30 minutes of research, and I know the real truth. And these people are just blind sheep who can't see that.
Yeah, definitely. I also kind of entertained the concept in my mind of, do you think there's a need for self-importance, right? Like you hear the stories of heroes almost daily, right? And especially in history, you read about very important people who stopped the rise of fascism, things like that. And for someone who's already kind of leaning that way in the sense of thinking, not leaning to fascism, but leaning towards the idea that, keeping people at homes, no matter why, the reason why in this case to stop spreading and stop people dying is fascism. So that they reach that conclusion, and therefore they need to see themselves as a hero,
That's a very
and that's
interesting.
why they're like this.
Yeah, no, that's a very interesting thing. I think you're actually spot on. I've not really thought of it like that to that capacity, but you're extremely correct. They're waiting for like the next fascist uprising to happen. They're waiting to be the white roses that stand up to what's going to happen next. I think it's very similar to what they argue about like gun violence in America. A lot of people are waiting to be the dirty Harry that stops the
Mm.
criminal. Yeah, they want to be the hero. They want to be the one that rises above. Because we do actually in society. I do wonder. We put a lot of focus on single heroes doing that single mighty act that helps save the day. I
Mm.
wonder if that's pathologized in a way that causes people to act like this. We do have an obsession with
Maybe.
heroes. We love superheroes who, through their actions, their mighty actions, are able to save the day. That's an intriguing way of thinking about it.
Yeah. No, I've always wanted that. It made sense in my mind.
So,
Glad you agree.
what do you think? Is it apathy? Is it looking at what's going on, having dealt with months of lockdown and saying I just don't care anymore? Because I've definitely seen that in people too. People were very, very cautious to begin with, but after like a few months, I noticed people around me check out. Or do you think it's people want to be heroic, people want to stand up to what they see as a fascist uprising? They're telling us that we can't go out. They're telling us we have to cover our masks, which is fascism. Do you think it's that, or do you think it's a mixture of the two?
Probably mixture of the two, but I am, like I said, a bit more inclined to say that it's something like the hero
Yeah.
complex. Is it called? I don't know. They want to see themselves as heroes. I mean, what? Not everyone, of course. Different people, different reasons. But
Mm.
White Roses, for instance,
Oh, that
why else
has to be
would
that.
they choose that name?
Yeah, because they want to
They
be
want to
heroes.
see themselves.
That's how
exactly.
They
Yeah.
want to be the people that stop the fascist uprising. They want to be the people that say, look at this, I posted a little picture of a little girl smashing a television screen. That's the same as stopping a Nazi uprising. Yeah, it's an intriguing way of thinking about it. But
yeah, from our side, it's also, well, when I say our side, it's probably not the right way of saying it, but from the side of people who, don't. Again, I don't want to say the words "we don't want to be the heroes" because again, that's not necessarily always true for everybody, right? But from the people who do stay at home and don't, not conspiracy theorists like that, this I do wonder if this also people are growing tired.
yeah,
Not not the same with compassion fatigue, but like feeling apathetic. Is that a word? Apathetic?
Yeah, apathetic's the perfect word, and because like I said, I felt it at times. I know tons of people around me have felt it at times, and I think from the very beginning there were people in particular. Who was that guy we were going to talk about on the first episode, but we never got round to? The person who tried to make estimations of how much it would cost and argued that going to a lockdown would be. You remember him, right?
Yeah.
Oh, could you? What is his name?
I can't remember his name.
He caused the splash, didn't he?
Splash?
Yeah, he was trending on social media and everything. The most important thing to be. Well, it wasn't just that. The example, this is a British example, I will find him, but the American example was Ben Shapiro, right? And I think it's very interesting you were talking about cancer deaths because there were a lot of people at the very beginning, people who wanted the markets to stay open, were arguing, hey, people die all the time. This doesn't matter. And when we have a society that thinks like that, of course it might. Of course it will grow apathy. Of course it will.
Yeah.
I mean, not to say that there weren't some arguments we didn't know, because people were arguing at the time. Oh, look, this new virus is spreading, but people die of cancer all the time. What people die in like car crashes all the time. Are you gonna ban cars? But the difference is when we see cars crashing into areas, usually we'll put some form of regulation to make sure that those cars aren't continuing to crash everywhere. It's a stupid example. And we didn't know what the effects of COVID were at the time. But we already had people sort of preemptively trying to stroke up empathy before we'd even gone through a lockdown.
Yeah.
So now I'm wondering, is this another element of society that we look for reasons to sort of hand wave, the stuff that we do?
To maybe finish the segment, unless you have something else to say.
No, I've run out of inspirational quotes from. No, I've run out of "I'm 12 and this is deep" quotes I can take from on Reddit. So
yeah, okay.
Go on.
Nice. So I did want to also link, or I'm going to put a link, on this group recommended by, I think it was Psychology Today. No, sorry, the Compassion Fatigue Awareness Project. Right, it's a questionnaire specifically designed to measure if you're an empath or you're a sociopath. Not a sociopath bit, just the empath bit. But it's interesting. It's fun.
Okay.
See how much you actually care about people.
Should we do that? We should do a separate video where we do the empath test.
Okay, I've done it. I already know my score.
But what did you get?
I'm not going to tell you.
Okay.
I can do it now if you want with you. I'll ask you questions.
I thought maybe we do this because it's already getting quite long, the recording.
It is.
Doing an entire empath test, right? This is good, right? Because I can lie in that test and pick all the rosy answers to make it seem like I'm not a sociopath. So I can't wait to take this test.
It's actually it's very easy to cheat it.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, right? I guess you just have to be honest. You just have to trust us, viewers.
Yeah, be honest with yourself. No one's going to judge you other than yourself. So if you're really that much of a sociopath and you then want to blame this on the leftists, how they're trying to make you look bad and make you feel bad, then that's fine. But just be honest for the first time.
Thank you for listening to the Quarantine Quality Podcast 2 Electric Boogaloo. We're very glad that you've listened to us for this long. That's a trick. We look at the numbers. We know no one listens for this long. But if you did for some reason, thank you. And we'll be sure to see you next week as we do Quarantine Quality. That's the name. Quarantine Quality Season 2, Episode 2. Be there. We're going to talk about some stuff. I'm going to get a collection of news stories that I'll save up so we can talk about that. It's going to be fun. It's going to be dandy. And we hope you have a pleasant time. And stay safe. Don't. Yeah, thank you. I love the positive reinforcement. That's what this is about. Positive reinforcement. So that we don't go crazy. Or maybe we already... maybe we already...
Is it?
Yeah. I love how urgently you scream, that's it. Yes.
Yeah. If we think about it too much, we may end up talking about the poor Facebook fact checkers again. No checkers, the content checkers.
Or we may start talking about how society preemptively raises us to be crazy. Or we might go off the deep end again because we've got nothing to do. And I don't have alcohol I can buy from a bar to drink. Oh, I mean, I do have alcohol, but I look like a bit of a weirdo if I'm drinking it on my own. So I need the pubs to open again.
I need the pubs to be able to drink on my own, but surrounded by people.
I don't actually go with people. It's just having the people around me makes me feel like I'm at least not an introvert.